beautiful Gvantsa. Yay! So happy to have you here.
Hi, Jen. Hi, Jen. Hi, everyone. So happy to be here. So excited to be here.
Hmm.
And so honored to be here. It's always such a privilege to sit down with you and have a conversation. And so I look forward to creating magic with you. And my intention is that our conversation serves all women and men and all human beings.
As always, as always. So we're gonna just dive right in because, as you know, this series of authenticity project, sometimes we are navigating into, the terrain of some discomfort, but let's explore what power means to us as women, especially because this is what I've realized also in my own healing journey. There was a time I was like, I don't want to talk about anything related to power. It sounds too grandiose and I don't want to dive in there. It feels a little bit threatening for me to discuss a topic like this. So I'm here, feel into this energy, very empowered actually, to invite you to share your perspective. How do you see power in the current dynamic of, I don't know how, you're helping women to step into their authenticity as well? And where do you see the dance in between their fear of owning their power, but also want to feel empowered at the same time?
Mm. That is such a beautiful question. And I think it's a really great point because you bring up something very important. I think first and foremost, it's really important to look at what it is that we mean by power. Power is a very strong word, and lots of people have their own understanding of it, their own connotations of it, and sometimes it can be very negative. Some people may associate power with control, with dominance. And I would love to really look at what do we mean by power. I would love to hear your
Mm.
take on this as well.
Mm.
When I think about power, what I mean by power is power to create. And what I've seen in many women that I get to work with, there is this real deep desire
Mm.
to be the full participants in the process of creating our world, creating the future of our world, and ultimately taking their rightful place to sit at the table of ultimate power, where important conversations are happening that are shaping the world that we currently live in. So, the power that I am speaking about is the power to create rather than feeling trapped into something, whether it's our immediate circumstances or in a world that we see that does not work and is at the source of not only our suffering, but suffering of many people and feeling helpless in
Mm.
doing anything about it.
Wow. Okay. So there's an inkling that I kind of want to like navigate with you. So this one is, as you know, well, especially in my culture, it was Asian culture. So traditionally, we as women, it's easy to kind of show the power of, it's more of that, that goddess Demeter, right? The motherly love, the Venusian, the warmth, the lovely, dovely, that kind of, warm intimacy, holding space for people, nurturing. It's easy for quite a lot of women that I see, especially mothers who have children, right? They are really good. They're expert at holding space, loving their children. That's a kind of power. I definitely see that. I definitely see that.
Absolutely.
However, when we're talking about different sides of power, saying, okay, it's time to really follow your heart, to do certain steps forward to achieve your dream or certain endeavors in your heart. Somehow we kind of pull ourselves back because we don't want to be seen. There's an invisible, it's just the fear level could get so high, like, no, 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 I'm not good enough for that. I'm not ready for it yet. So who am I to? So we actually collectively as women, I feel like we really withdraw our so-called power, or if we don't want to use the word power, our the dream seed, the seed in our heart, like we hide it so deeply, and we get depressed. We're upset, you know.
Yes. Yes,
So
absolutely.
there is that.
And
Sorry. So there's that imbalance. I feel that there's so many women or even friends that I have known. It's like they are so gifted. At the same time, there's such big fear or blockage that kind of stops them from, moving forward and embrace it at all.
yes,
Yeah,
yes, you're absolutely right. And I'm so happy that you actually brought up motherhood because I think this is very important. Actually, the expression of power takes many different shapes and forms.
of course.
And when I think about power, for me, power is to create versus feeling helpless,
Mm,
but actually knowing that there is power in me to create, whether it is to create and give birth to a human being, or whether it is to conceive of something as a vision, as an idea, and having the power to give birth to it in the world that enables you to be the full participant of influencing and shaping the world around you, whether it's through your children, whether it's through your ideas, whether it is through simply your way of being, that opens up things in people.
mm,
And there is definitely a tremendous fear that many women experience when it comes to really stepping forward. On one hand, many women actually have a desire to step forward. Not everybody does, and neither it is necessary. But some women certainly feel that they have really potent gifts and they want to step forward in the world, embodying these gifts and have the ability to freely give them, and often feel they are confronted with profound and deep fear
yeah. Yes.
around giving what they want to give.
Mm. So let's go deeper from that place then. So when we're feeling it so strongly, that part of us really want to birth the child, that child of creation, whatever in whatever form, right? But that fear that really like ties us down, and you almost feel like you're suffocated inside, even though from the outside you probably having a perfect life or whatever, how you're being perceived in the world.
Mhm.
Inside, the truth of, there's something that I'm holding it so dearly, but I'm not yet able to give life force to it. And
Yes,
that become later on regret. And then they start self-blame, and that's like a vicious cycle, right? So in such a way, um how do we unblock? How do we unblock this interesting dynamic? Because it's going to manifest in all areas of our life, right? Relationships with our, spouse, relationships with our coworkers in all forms, family, you name it, right?
yes,
So what is that something that's so deep that we're so afraid of? So we avoid at all cost. There's something
yes.
I feel it's really intense that we women, we all collectively share in a way. Yeah, I want to hear about what you think about it.
Yeah, the beautiful question. So let me start here.
Yeah,
I have a lot of female friends in my life,
yeah,
and some of these friends, women friends, I notice that when I sit down with them and when we are in a conversation,
mm,
I become profoundly aware of the strengths of their energetic field. And a part of me, which I cannot even explain, and there is no need to explain, really knows that their soul, they are a very powerful soul. And they have the capacity to really enable things in others. And I feel that viscerally. And when I'm in conversation with them, they often would say, there is something I want to do, but I know that if I step forward and if I really give what I want to give, if I say what I want to say, there will be a backlash. And I am very, very afraid of being confronted by rage, by anger, by other people's prejudice. And I don't know if I have the capacity in me to survive that.
Wow, I feel that. Yes, I definitely feel that.
And so it's very interesting. It's actually, this fear is very real in many women, and I'm very familiar with this fear myself. When I have observed my life throughout years, I recognize that I can actually experience two very distinct states. One I call the state of power, and the other I call the state of powerlessness. And I began to really observe what is it that I'm experiencing in each of the states, and what are the differences. And I noticed that when I feel powerful, usually one of the things that are present in me, my awareness, is that number one, I feel very connected with something larger than myself. I feel part of the universe larger than me, and I have this sense of partnership.
Yeah.
I am not separate. The connection with the universe that is larger than me is very present in me in the moments of feeling powerful. I also feel very connected with my body. In my body, feeling safe, feeling energized, I am connected with my sexuality, my womb space, my senses, my desires. And with that, I'm connected with my gifts and I'm free to give it. I am free to give it. I'm not held back. And the energy that is coursing through my body is of love and connection with others. In those states, I feel unstoppable.
Ooh, this is so good. I love it. You are speaking something like very visceral, like I feel like on a cellular level, period. So this is what I hear. Like when we are connected to something greater than us, not in just this human body. I mean, we are in our body, yes, but not just in this human form. We we are called to be aspired to show up in a different way because the intention behind the showing up is not about let me prove myself I'm worthy of this, but it's the intention of can I just create from a place of that purity. So when it's pure, it's really connected with the oneness, the universe, or the higher power, that we are here to be who we are, which is the authentic self. But well, me saying this is not like, oh, I master authenticity. No, I still have a long way to go. But what I've learned is I have experienced what feels inauthentic in my life many, 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 many years, but not being able to be aware enough to even pinpoint it with my fingers. So being able to see how I traverse from inauthenticity to feel more authentic and start exploring what can be even more authentic without apology. That has been my path. But
yes,
truthfully, I completely resonate with what you said about when we are allowing that higher, the greater version of the higher intelligence to co-create with us and holding that pure intention, then
yes,
power is not, the word power doesn't seem as intimidating, like how society taught us or how we just kind of took it on, all those different tainted version perception of should look powerful, you should show up in this way. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. And thank you for adding that. And I really appreciate your reflections always. Because what I noticed that you have this amazing gift to put into words something that was in the space, like in the conversation, but was not spoken yet through words. I noticed that you do this again and again and again. And two things that you presenced here that are really important is one, and you picked up on it right away. So you picked up on the motivation to why and what we give is different when we come from this place of connection to the source and connection with our bodies, the wisdom of our bodies. So what happens is that motivation to show up in the world in this state is not about to prove ourselves. It is about to give the expression that life is yearning to give through us. It's a very different kind of motivation.
Definitely.
And authenticity is very much connected with this, because what is authenticity, right? Authenticity has so many layers and shades. And one way you can look at authenticity is whenever I speak something, I make sure that I'm being authentic in what I say. And then there is even a deeper layer. What is it that I choose to share, to speak? And I think where authenticity can feel very scary for most of us is when we are seeing something, when we are perceiving something, experiencing something that seems different from what we see is embraced on this plane as the truth or as how things work and how things are. But if we see something that's different from that, or that may challenge certain worldviews, but it is truly coming from an authentic place within us to see, to feel into it, to perceive it, and to choose to share it, that can feel very scary.
We're getting there. We're getting there. And I have to say, well, once again, thank you for always witnessing my path. And there's also that urge for me to kind of, yeah, bring up the subject that you already talked about, which is when women, your female friends, for example, they're so afraid of, let's say, stirring the pot, right? I'm going to say something that's going to trigger other people. It's going to just irritate others. And I'm not sure if I can handle the rage of it, right?
Yes.
That is such a shared common ground. Doesn't matter which culture we're in. I think collectively we share the part of us that's like so much in the root chakra. We are part of the tribe, right? And now we're kind of like irritating that tribal energy, and we're afraid to be executed, banished, or, be outcasted. Are we going to survive through that alone?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
What is the truth?
Yes.
Are we really safe?
Mm. This is a this is a this is very deep in women's psyche, this fear. And it's often crippling and it's often paralyzing. I have asked this question myself, again and again. Because if we go back to what's on the other side of power, like when we feel powerless, what I noticed in me, I feel very alone. Feeling the connection with something larger than myself and Gvantsa in the context of universe as an essential expression of it. That experience is no longer there. There is an experience of feeling disconnected and feeling alone. There is an experience of feeling disconnected from my body and being trapped in my head. There can be an experience of deep and profound fear that is paralyzing, and severe self-doubt. Self-doubt about what I think, what I feel, what I see. And sometimes it can go as far as to have the experience of I am crazy.
Yep.
And to answer your question, can I survive it? I believe deeply in this. If a woman experiences experiences a genuine impulse that's asking her to step forward with her truth and take a leap. I believe that there is profound wisdom within that impulse, and it arises in her for a reason.
But we seldom really honestly acknowledge that part of us that wants to rise without logic.
With the logic. Say more about that.
Yeah. Sometimes it's hard for us to really allow that raw energy to come out without like a logic, rational side of, justification. Why do you have that? And
Yes.
can you face the consequence of how people are going to receive it at the other end?
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So what I'm really, really interested in talking with you about is really like, because authenticity itself is raw and it's with so many layers, like you said, but at the same time, we're so afraid to be in probably even in our body, right? It feels more comfortable to live here, completely disconnected from the sensual place of our sacral area. But operating from here and assert, like, it's easier to assert. It's easier to assert from this place, masculine energy more than just allowing what feels true to us intuitively. Because honoring that part of it, it's just not yet. Yeah, people talk about intuition, yes, and I always love to encourage people to listen to that raw intuitive energy, but still it's not something that most of us lean into often enough.
Yes, absolutely. And yes, was there something else you wanted to say? Go ahead. Yes, I agree with you. And you asked the question, so how do we reclaim, how do we connect with that power? And I have been thinking about it. And there are certain things that are a significant part of this journey. And at the deepest level, I really believe that we need to reclaim our bodies. And by that, I mean our connection with our bodies. Many of us have learned to reside in our heads, and we have abandoned our bodies. And I noticed something. I have often happened to work with women who are very accomplished in the world. And without a doubt, they have extraordinary brain superpowers. Focus, ability to bring very complex ideas together. Their language is succinct, they're direct. They have the ability to strategize, to take action, to execute on things. They're very, very clear in their thinking. They have the ability to think really deeply. And what I notice is that when I sit down with them, often what happens is that they come to me because at some point they began to experience something in their body which frustrates them. It's like almost the experience of being pregnant with something, but not being able to access it and not knowing how to access it because it's not a thought. They feel that something is arising and there is no way for them to connect with that. And they say, help me to get clear and put in one sentence, what is it that I'm experiencing and what is it that I'm going to create with it? In one sentence, I need to know. And what's interesting, when I sit down with them, my always first step is always this: how to bring her attention back into her body. Like, bring the attention back from your mind into your body. And it's difficult, Jen. It's very difficult. In fact, one of my clients said to me the other day, she said, I've been meditating for several years, and I'm in my head, and I said to my meditation teacher that I cannot feel my body at all. I cannot feel my breath at all. When you guide us, feel your breath, I don't feel anything. And then she said that her meditation teacher suggested that she listens to her breath instead.
Mm.
And so you see, we have been so disconnected from the body. And one of the number one thing a woman can do to begin to really reclaim and enhance her power and her ability to create in the world is to learn to bring her attention back inside her body and start connecting with herself.
Mm. You know, you just pointed out something that it's just so potent, so simple, yet is probably the hardest thing that we're able to do consistently. Just really coming back to be aware. Oh gosh, you know, I got trapped here, and be able to say when, yeah, that's just my case. Whenever I feel like I get trapped in my mind, I literally feel disconnected with my bottom half. You know,
Mm-hmm.
and then so dancing helped me to come back to my meat suit. You know, so
Yeah.
so it allows the natural flow to say, okay, you know what, let's just leave this place that you think you have control over all the things, but come back to this place that is really your home. Because no matter what,
Yes.
here is going to tell you about what happened in the past. It didn't work out.
Yes.
And what about the future? Oh my God, you got to worry about that too. So the body cannot go to the past. The body cannot go to the future. It can only stay
Yes.
here. But this is sometimes the least place that we want to get in touch with here.
Yes, and for different reasons. And you're right. The body is our home. Our pelvis is our home. This is where home is.
Mm. And as you know, like we, all of us, doesn't matter, you know, gender, we all have our feminine energy, our masculine energy. And so how do we dance with these both polarities, which is more, one is more driven from the rational part of it, the other is more intuitive, it's just more flowy, more organic, and without distorting it, like we manifest from a way that's very forcing, right? Or really submissive, we hold back all the time and overly like being in the receptive mode and not being willing to lean forward to take action.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. Because you're right. There are some women who are actually very connected with their body, very connected. They live in their bodies and they live life through their bodies. And often what happens there is a struggle around having a sense of agency and ability to act.
Okay, share more. For example.
So I think often what happens that we either go one way or the other, and actually the aim is to bring the two together. So we either begin to heavily rely on our mind and thinking and feel disconnected from what we feel, from what we desire, for what we really yearn for, or we are very connected with what we feel, what we yearn for, what we desire. Sometimes even we feel overwhelmed by everything that we feel inside our body. And I've seen that when we are in that, when this is where we live, this is where we live, and the majority of our experience is about being in our body, we are waiting for something. We are constantly, constantly waiting for something to happen for us to step forward and make things happen through actions.
Wow. So what you just described, it sounds both ends were pretty like paralyzing, paralyzing your mind, or paralyzing too much feeling.
Yes, yes.
Right? Yeah, so how do we marry the two together? Literally, it's a marriage, I think. Marry these two together so we get to feel, trust, and take action without too much anguish right here, and really feel connected in the body and know that we're doing it with also the divine that we're co-creating with.
That's beautiful, and that's actually very, very important piece in all of this. And it's actually a skill development, as simple as that. Because some of us learned to be really good and comfortable with one thing, and being disconnected from something else. For example, I have this amazing client again who is very accomplished, who said that her father was a professor, very accomplished and successful, and somebody who was admired by lots of people, including her. And she shared with me that she remembers that as a little girl, her father, and she knows that this came from a good place because he really believed that what he needed to do to really help her excel in the world through her logic, intelligence, and thinking. And she said to me that she actually was not allowed, her mother was, um, she was told to never dress her, the girl, in dresses and in colorful colors. She grew up wearing trousers and black and gray colors. And she said, I was not allowed to play with dolls. I was allowed to play with Legos and puzzles. And I was not allowed to cry and show my feelings and emotions.
Wow.
So she went through decades of actually really developing her capacity for thinking, intelligence, problem solving. She was excelling in math, and now she is in her late 30s. And for the first time in her life, she's waking up to this entire new possibility for feeling, for learning also
Oh my gosh.
what it is to be a woman in different ways, dressing differently, making contact with her body and what she may be desiring, and not seeing it as a weakness. But often it is something that we develop more than something else because we have been encouraged, we have been actively supported, and maybe shamed for other parts. So,
Wow.
what actually needs to happen to consciously develop something that is underdeveloped?
So true. That is so true. And it's so funny because this special example that you just provided, it kind of reminded me of another case that I work with another client of mine who is kind of the opposite on the opposite
Yes, please share. This is so beautiful to look at the opposites.
the
Yes.
opposite spectrum of what I'm going to share is that this client of mine is extremely intuitive, very much in her feeling, her body, her sensitivity. She's an empath, you know. And so what happened is she can get so much like in tune with all the spiritual downloads and everything, right? And I mean, that's amazing. It's a spiritual gifted soul, right? But at the same time, and she feel agonized whenever she has to take that step forward because she'll wrong herself for, no, I don't think this is divine timing yet, right? So there's a spiritual bypassing that I see could probably hinder her to really face herself with honesty. I mean, so there's a fine line, you see? There's a fine
Yes.
line of embrace what you are so gifted of, but also trust enough of what you're going to experience might bring some discomfort. But if you really believe that you are that co-creation with the higher power or divine, then you take that leap forward and see if you're going to be held. That's just my way of looking at it. Yeah.
Absolutely. And you're so right, because in both cases, what needs to be developed and embraced more over time will actually feel very, very uncomfortable. In the first case, it will, to start with, feel very uncomfortable to close your eyes, go in. What is it that you're sensing? What is it that you're feeling? What are you're yearning for? What are you desiring? What is it that you know deep down in your gut that is there, that you can really tune in with, that you can listen to? It can feel very uncomfortable to really lean into that direction, and can bring up a lot of resistance. And on the other hand, for example, in your client's case, it may feel very uncomfortable and scary to step forward, to take action, to maybe embrace being visible, to speak her
Yes.
knowing, to speak her mind.
I mean, isn't it interesting how like it varies from one spectrum to another, right? And one thing that I want to kind of highlight before we wrap up is when we're talking about power, right? We normally would be like, oh, power. We kind of put that word be above us or external outside of us, right? Oh, I need to obtain my power. I need to gain my power back. Or the word power feels something outside of us, right? But yet, this is what I realized. I mean, just through my own inner healing journey as well. It's like, oh my gosh, guess what, Jen? You got your own inner power struggle before you're able to even talk about, oh, yeah, let me just claim my power back. What about what's going
Yes.
on here, right?
Yes.
What are you struggling? So I love when you were talking about self-doubt, those energies that we produce from ourselves, from the insecurity. What if I am going to be banished? What if I'm going to be rejected by others by speaking my truth? What will happen? And then
Yeah.
the wounds get broken open, right? Like, oh my God, I have internal struggle, power struggle.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. It's very much an internal journey.
It is. It is. So I was
Yes.
called to, well, while having your beautiful presence here, I want to also honor how important it is to talk about a little bit of the power of compassion, because it's inner, right? So a lot of times people outside of you, even though if they're the closest to you, um, you know, in the peripheral, they still wouldn't get what you're going through, that internal
Yes.
struggle, right?
Yes.
So the power of compassion, how can we be more compassionate with ourselves throughout this turmoil of tug of war inside?
Yes. Well, it's a practice.
Definitely.
It's an ongoing practice to embrace, not only for ourselves, but also what I see is that it's a practice to embrace for, if we are speaking about women, for all the women. It's very interesting because I noticed that, for example, we can have this experience where when we like and approve of what we did and said and how we handled something, we tend to feel good about ourselves. But when we witness that something didn't go the way we hoped, or we made a mistake, this severe self-judgment can arise. And it is in those moments when we tend to lose the ability to really have self-compassion, the moments where we most need it. And it's actually on the outside, it's exactly the same. I think for women, it can be easy to really like and love and support and uplift other women who we naturally like, who seem to be like us, have the similar values, and whose choices and expressions we approve of. And then we see women who seem to be very different, who seem to be bringing forward something that triggers us so intensely, sometimes without even realizing, and this severe judgment comes
Oh,
up, and like almost, you know, wanting to really put her down. And I really believe that we can learn to love ourselves more through loving all the expressions in women, and vice versa. Through loving all parts of ourselves, perhaps it is easier to open our heart and love all parts of women that we witness.
you really spoke to my heart deeply. You really did. So, a lot of times, it doesn't matter what culture we're in, there's a lot of times that I find like um, expressing ourselves, especially when we're on the healing journey of self-discovery, there are going to be different parts of ourselves going to get exposed or layered out, being revealed, right? Me myself, I have been experiencing on that one for sure, so I deeply resonate with that. And so allowing ourselves to see, wow, this is a little bit intense for me to accept this part of myself. It actually requires me to go inwards and say, okay, how can I pour more self-acceptance? Because it's going to project out to other people, onto other people. If I don't accept this part of me, guess what? I'm going to judge other people, women or men, I don't care. Oh my God,
Yes.
why is this person doing that? Because I don't accept that part of myself.
Yeah.
So I love what you just said so much, because it really brings that harmony back home, because we're all one. But through separation, through how we're being perceived differently, we think certain people, certain things are wrong, and we start judging.
Yes.
At the same time, it comes back to us, that part of you also being mirrored. Can I
Yes, totally.
accept that part that is so hard to love? So hard to love.
Yes. Yes.
And
Yes.
thank you for bringing it up.
Oh, it's my pleasure. And I think the intense feelings, whether we experience this toward ourselves, and if we're speaking in negative ones or in others, is a moment to actually get very curious. What is it that's bringing it all up? And practice, rather than being shut down by, how do I open my heart? How can this be a gift? How is this a gift? And it's a practice. It can be a lifelong practice. And you asked a question about spirituality, and I know that we are almost at this time. And if we have a few minutes, I think
Of
it
course.
is really important to look at how does spirituality fit in all of this and being in our power. Because I really believe that our connection with the source, with the divine, our spirituality can be a tremendous source of power in our lives. Because if you think about it, there are so many women who say, I want to play a bigger game in my life. I want to be more brave. I want to be more bold. And what I have seen is that one of these things that can really enable us to embody courage is be connected with a bigger context for our lives. And I'm not only saying a bigger context and bigger game for this particular life, but a context even bigger than that. Gvantsa, Jen, in the context of the universe. Who are you? Why are you here?
You just bring me some deep introspection here. All of a sudden, like the word ancestral hit me right now. It's like yeah, we came here alone, yes, but then with a lot of energies of generations behind us. So who am I? Who are you, Gvantsa? Right? I mean, we're the products, yes, of many, many, many generations that brought us here to experience something that's very, very beyond words, you know? And then can we just say, when we're feeling those setbacks of external or internal judgment, can we allow ourselves to just be human about it?
Mm.
That
Yes. Say more about being human about it.
human about it, meaning that, this is one of my favorite quote by, I forgot the name of it, sorry, but then you probably already know it. We are not just human beings practicing spirituality, but we are spiritual beings having a human experience.
Yes.
So what we are here, we are already the spiritual being, the energy of it. And while having these ups and downs and inner turmoil and outer stimulations, we are alive.
Yes.
And can we not judge ourselves too much
Yes.
or judging others because we are feeling insecure or we
Yes.
want to protect ourselves? So we make other people wrong. I mean,
Yeah.
all the stuff that I said, I have to say I've done it, you know? And
Same here.
could I be human about this? I don't have to be a perfect human. There's no such a thing called perfect
Yes.
human. I am a
Yes.
flawed human. And that's why it's adventurous.
Yes. Absolutely. And I really, in fact, believe that some of the lowest moments of our lives, when we have really seen ourselves and experienced in ourselves in the midst of despair or in feeling or doing or saying something that was scary, that was truly scary, horrifying, ugly, and not turning away from it, but actually being with it can be a real gateway to something. I've seen this in my life, what it is to be human. And then it can become a profound source of forgiveness for ourselves and for others.
Too bad I cannot say more about your story, but I would probably ask you to share in the next episode. But one thing I would love for you to help us wrap up. What is one thing that you would inspire, say, the audiences here to who really wants to experience the possibility of what self-empowerment feels like in the body or in whatever state that you feel like to share?
Mm. You know, what comes to me is something that was passed down to me by one of my mentors who said, the possibility that you feel inside is real. The possibility that you feel inside, whether you are able to articulate or not, whether you're able to put it one sentence or not, whether it appears logical or not, what you sense and feel inside is real.
Oh my God, this is so empowering. Thank you.
And find people
Mm.
who can help you
Mm.
to step forward to it. We're not meant to do any of this alone.
Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you so much. And to wrap up, I would love to encourage anyone who's watching this, really step into, I wouldn't say power or try to be powerful, no, but just the power of curiosity, like what Gvantsa just said. What does it feel like? Well, your possibility inside is real. Spark, spark, spark. All right. So, also, you share how can people contact you to understand more of your work and how they can receive some of your support from you?
Yes, thank you for that question. So right now, where I am present and where I contribute is Facebook, my personal Facebook page. And once you share the video, I can
I will definitely.
just comment there. Gvantsa Mamatsashvili is my name. And the email, which is my surname Mamatsashvili at yahoo.com.
Amazing. Okay, so definitely will check it out, people. She's an amazing coach, and she has a lot of, I wouldn't say it's beyond word wisdom and insights that you want to really lean for her support. All right, sister. So grateful to have your time, energy here. And thank you for all that you do for the world, for all the women that you're supporting. And we'll see what we're going to weave next time because we have a lot more to talk about, I feel. This is just a little scope of the iceberg.
Thank you so much, Jen. It's such a gift. This is our second time being on your podcast together this way, and it's been a gift each time. And I honor you and I celebrate you with my whole heart for having the willingness to step forward and to give your gift and to enable people what you enable through your presence, through your questions, and through the brilliance of your mind and your heart. I love you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for receiving it. All right. Thank you, everybody. Have a beautiful day, and we'll talk soon. Bye, guys.